Oh, we're gonna get a little controversial on this one. Today I'm ranking all 11 rides at Epcot. I can tell you right now there's gonna be an unpopular opinion or two in here. I'm only doing the rides, so I'm not gonna do any of the shows or anything like that because I haven't experienced those enough recently to put them in here, so I'm just doing the rides. So without further ado, let's get into number 11, which I'm sure will be the most controversial one, which is the worst ride in Epcot being Living with the Land. I have gone on and on about this for years, okay? I think this ride stinks. If you're into VeggieTales, if you're in the, slow boat rides through the produce section of Publix, that's cool. I don't see the value in having that in a theme park that costs $150 a day. I think the idea, maybe with old Epcot, right? When it was more, there was a lot more education-based Epcot back in the day. We've gone away from that. Look at the new rides, Guardians of the Galaxy, Remys, Frozen. These new additions to Epcot, they're more based on IPs and entertainment than they are education. So I don't believe that Living with the Land is a good ride whatsoever. In fact, I think it's the worst, maybe on property. Let's look at how long this ride is, okay? Land, how long? 15 minutes. How long is Pirates of the Caribbean? No, not the movie, the ride. 8.5 minutes. And I think Pirates, is a great ride. I think that should be 15 minutes long. I don't think Living with the Land, veggie and fish ride, should be 15 minutes long. I could go on, and I won't. I'm just gonna move on to number 10. But take that as you will. Comment what you gotta comment. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. Number 10 is Figment. Never got to experience the old ride. I've only experienced this version. And this version, I just don't think it's that good. And I mean, the wait time shows for it, right? It's a 5-minute wait no matter what. If you do it late at night, you're just walking right in. It takes longer to walk from the entrance to the ride vehicle than it does to actually wait for the ride vehicle. I don't think it's that good. It needs an update. I think they could do some really cool things with Figment. I like this original park character, and I think they could do a really good ride, especially with the technology we have nowadays. But as of right now, based off of what it is, it's number 10. Number 9 is going to also be a little controversial, okay? And I want to start out by saying I do enjoy this attraction. It has a spot in my heart, and that's Spaceship Earth. I think having a ride in the Epcot Ball is awesome. I think telling the story of Earth is awesome. That's the one education because it can kind of still be a little entertainment-based with how they do it. With that said, this ride needs an update so bad. Some of the animatronics haven't worked in a while. They're all slow. It's not realistic at all. It's been so long since they updated it. And of course, I checked, and they haven't updated it and added something new since 2007. In 2024, looking at potentially 20 years before we see another update to this. That's crazy. With how much has changed in the world, 20 years, I think they could do so much more. And just the ride track, it creaks, it cranks. It's not smooth. The pictures come out bad. Half the time it doesn't work. I love Spaceship Earth. It needs a refurb bad before it moves up higher on this list. At 8, I'm putting the Seas with Nemo and Friends. Now, this ride at an advantage is the whole aquarium factor, and exiting out into that and that ride being a part of it is really cool. I think it has a good queue that you never really have to wait in. You get to just walk through. It's perfect for getting out of the sun. I think solid use of the IP, with the aquarium factor tied in. Could this ride be better? Absolutely. Absolutely, I think so. But I think it's a fun little ride that never has a long wait. I mean, the one thing that holds Spaceship Earth back too is if you do it in the early morning, Spaceship Earth, that can have a 30 to 45 minute wait. And it dies down by the end of the night, so never do Spaceship Earth early. But Nemo never has a long wait. Despite being a big-time Pixar IP, I think it does a good job and leads you right out to the aquarium. I think it's a solid, cool kids ride. I think it's a good ride to get out of the sun. I'm putting it at number 8. Number 7 is, we got to talk about this one. Mission Space. Now, hear me out. I don't know how this makes sense. I can't handle the teacups. You'll never catch me on the teacups. They make me sick. I enjoy Mission Space. Don't ask me how. Don't ask me why. It's my body. It's weird. I know. I think Mission Space is a cool ride, and I'll tell you why. You can't experience a ride like this anywhere. There's no other ride that makes you feel like you are launching into space and doing a space mission. 2 versions of this. There's a green mission, which isn't intense at all, and it's boring. There's the orange mission, which is fun. I understand this is not for everybody, and I can understand if you hate spinning things, this is going to be dead last. You'll put the veggie ride ahead of it, and I understand that. But I think from a ride perspective and a cool perspective, I think this is a little overhated. I think it's still a fun time. And again, another one that the line, unless it's on a busy day, isn't super long. You're not waiting a ton. think they do. I think it's a fun time, okay? I do. Number 6, I'm putting the Grand Fiesta Tour. This is an underrated attraction, and I think it's a great time in Epcot. I start in Canada, so I start drinking there if I'm drinking around the world. So by the time I get to Mexico, I'm having a good time, which definitely makes this ride better. Overall, I still think it's good. Barely a wait. You can get a margarita, you can ride the ride, you can get off the ride, get another margarita, do whatever you want. Another one that's fun for families, for kids, for everybody, but definitely gets enhanced when you start in Canada. Number 5, I'm putting Remys Ride Adventure. This ride right now is in a tough spot for 2 reasons. 1, Guardians is still a virtual queue, so it's usually the longest line of the day still. Number 2, I call it Rise of the Resistance for rats. And I call it that because it's like Rise of the Resistance, but for rats. You come to Disney after Rise of the Resistance, that's, how do you even, how do you compete with Rise? I mean, Rise is unbelievable. It's one of Disney's greatest achievements. And Remys is really solid, but it's not as good as Rise. Overall, I think this is a fun attraction. Again, it's good for everybody. With that said, it's not one of the top ones across the board, but yet has the line of one of the best ones in there. So it just doesn't equal out right now, and I think it's a fine spot at number 5. At 4, I'm putting Saurin. Now, since Flight of Passage, I think Saurin gets a little boring. I remember the first time riding this, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. And now, it feels like it hasn't been updated since the first time I rode it back in the day. Actually, I do prefer World to California. I think the California jump cuts are a little choppy, and I think that's a little, So I think Saurin Around the World is better. I think it's time for an update. I hate how the Eiffel Tower leans, how you have to be sitting in the perfect spot in row B, like row 1, to really enjoy it. A couple flaws there, but overall, I still think it's fun. I think they did a good job, and it's one of those, again, unique rides where you're going to experience something like that besides Disney. At 3, I'm putting Test Track. Now, Test Track is currently under refurbishment from 2.0 to 3.0. I remember 1.0. I remember 2.0. We're on a 3.0, and I have high hopes for 3.0. Another very unique ride that you really can't experience anywhere but Disney. I like the idea of it. I like that it has a corporate sponsor because they're putting the money into it. I liked the idea of building your own cartoon and having competition. For me, that was a lot of fun. I think 1.0 was better than 2.0, but I still think this is a unique ride. That's a thrill ride that still the majority of your family can enjoy. You do have that outside portion where you go really fast, but really you're not going any faster than the drive you had over there. I'm excited to see what they do for 3.0, and based off of the things I heard, I think it's really going to be good and deserving of the 3rd spot. Number 2 is Frozen Ever After. Maelstrom fans, look away. I'm going to be honest with you. I've seen the first Frozen movie. I fell asleep during Frozen 2. I think they're fine. I just, obviously not made for me. With that said, I think the ride is a lot of fun. I think they do a good job. I think it fits well into the IP. Obviously, the line represents that. It's a popular ride. I do start in Canada, so I'm in Norway, my 10th country. Makes it even better. The projection mapping on some of the faces was a little better. But overall, I think it's a huge IP, and it's a fun ride. Going backwards on that the first time. I've seen people, if you do it forever, Maelstrom, you're like, whatever. People who do that for the first time, I love watching their face. They're smiling, they're, giddy as you go backwards, spoiler alert, and drop back down. I think it's a good length attraction as well, and something that gets you out of the sun on a hot day. I think it's number 2. And the easiest number 1 in my life is Cosmic Rewind. I mean, come on. The only knock I have about this ride, obviously, it's still in virtual queue, which isn't the biggest knock, but I feel bad for the people who aren't Disney experts. They might miss out on the opportunity to experience how great it is. That's one of my knocks, and the only other knock is depending on the song I get. I really don't like Disco Inferno on the ride. It just doesn't fit well for me. I don't have as much fun as if I have like September or Everybody Wants to Rule the World or Conga. That's the only thing. Outside of that, it's one of the best coasters, might be the best coaster on property. I still love Everest over it a little bit, but overall, it's one of the best roller coasters Disney has ever created. Might be one of the best roller coasters in America. Funny, because when they announced this, everybody was like, oh, Guardians and Epcot, that doesn't really fit. What? And now nobody says any of that because the ride is that good. The pre-show a little bit too. Sometimes I wish there was a way to skip the pre-show. It's not always working. There's a couple things. I'm trying to make it like it's number 1. Everybody I think at home knew it was number 1. It should be your number 1. If it's not, I would love to hear in the comments as to why. Tell me what your favorite song is, because mine is September. I think September is clearly the best song, followed by Everybody Wants to Rule the World, and then you can make a list. I might make a list soon. Either way, that's my number 1. That's my list for the 11 rides in Epcot. We're going to continue these ranking lists. I'm going to put them out for each park and in the Universal, so make sure you subscribe to see that. Sound off in the comments. Let me know what you think. Am I right? Am I wrong? Of course I'm right. Of course you're wrong. I'd love to hear it. Give me your list. And Guardians better be number 1. Thank you for watching this week, and I'll see you next Thursday.